Ross never asked me that before if I wanted to leave the meeting when you started recording.
It's gotta be a new thing.
It's a new something.
Hey, this is the. You should maybe think about what you say, or maybe just fail. Honestly, knowing you,
Yeah,
probably not a good idea for you to stick around.
Wait, I've decided.
So-
actually,
Speaking of belling, I blocked an admin in a group I'm in that our pal Refugio put me into.
yeah.
Caleb.
Mhm.
It's a omnibus group, and the one of the admins had a really hot take on the casting for Sandman,
Oh God.
and I didn't realize she was an admin, and I blocked her. So one of the other admins contacted me and is like, "Are you trying to avoid our admins?" I'm like, "No, I'm trying to avoid bad hot takes on casting of Sandman."
watching Neil Gaiman flame people, which is like, did you read the book? Because
Yeah.
if you have an issue with this, then you really didn't understand Sandman. So that's
Have you seen Have you seen people arguing with Neil Gaiman on Twitter about Sandman? It's
That's
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking
It's
about.
so good. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Peak Twitter.
Just anyway.
I love when people argue with the creators over something they created. No,
Yeah.
you're wrong. And the creator's like, okay.
I mean, you're entitled
you
to that
say
opinion,
so.
but also, what the fuck?
It's
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I was there.
Yeah.
Albeit it was the 80s. There was some cocaine involved, but I'm pretty sure I was there.
Right.
Well, hey everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, where we don't have super hot takes about Neil Gaiman and Sandman because it's excellent, and why would you want to make that argument? But we do have hot takes on a lot of other stuff, and we're going to drop them on you this episode. If I'm not wrong, let me check my spreadsheet. It looks like this is episode 178 of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, which is dumb. There's no reason this show should have gone that long. We should probably end it.
Yeah, I lost that.
This will be our peak episode. We can just end it after this.
You wouldn't be the first podcast we've ruined.
For 178 episodes now, I have been Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
And I am Craig Lance.
And we don't have a Matt Trogdon today, but if you've been wondering who these extra voices that you've been hearing are, we've got some friends who are back once again. You've heard them before. They've got some really cool stuff going on that they're going to tell you about. But we have the great Mr. Dalton and Mr. Wells with us. Dalton, Shannon, and Wells Thompson, that is, from the FourColour media group. And I'm glad you guys are back. I've missed you.
Yeah.
We've missed you.
Yeah,
We moved
stupid.
away, and we've never forgiven ourselves for it.
Well,
Wednesdays have
and
never been the same.
stupid COVID has just, made it hard
That's
to
been
stay
terrible.
interacting
Well, yeah.
with people, and yeah. But yeah, we're
Well,
glad to have you guys on the
is
show.
with Wells this entire.
Well, we're
Yeah,
sorry
it's
for
been
that.
golden handcuffs, let me tell you.
Well, you guys have used your time wisely, though, right?
If you wanna call it that, sure.
Well, I mean, you've got stuff coming out that you presumably worked on during the quarantine.
Mhm.
Is it called the quarantine special?
It is
Nothing that
it
tacky,
is
but
Oh,
close-
okay.
decidedly not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we have been working on a bunch of stuff just to keep ourselves from going completely insane. Some of it is going places. Some of it is being put on hold. Some of it was locked away in a deep dark vault where it will never escape. But after we released Descent into Dread, we went, okay, that was fun. What next? And we had a couple projects in mind, and the one that sort of won out for the next one we're going to really focus on is this guy, Mechaton.
See, I that stuff you have locked away, I'm sensing those should be stretch goals for your Kickstarter.
here's the
We'll
thing.
work.
I don't know if anyone wants to read my Mothra hentai fanfic, so we probably should keep that in the vault.
Oh, but now we're all
I
interested.
told him the people demand it, but he doesn't believe me.
There's a subset of the internet which will feed you lots of money for that, I guarantee. So I want to get to the Mechaton Kickstarter because I mean, really, really, truly, that's why we're here today. But before that, before we get there, you guys alluded to earlier, you guys have moved off into the world from the place that we met you. Neither one of you are no longer living in Central Arkansas. Dalton's moving. I think you're up in Northwest Arkansas still.
At the moment.
Wells, you're over in, is it Kentucky or Tennessee?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I knew you'd moved on in the world, and you both made those moves right before COVID hit. So just, I think the first and foremost question is, did you guys make it through the pandemic? Okay, how did the moves treat you? Everything going all right in your neck of the woods?
Yeah. Do you want to start, Dalton, or do you want me to go?
Oh well,
I don't mind.
I had been up here for a little bit before COVID really sat in. I got to work from home mostly this year, so that was nice. Got a lot of comics work done while working from home. So thankfully, the pandemic did not affect Alexis and I as much as the rest of the world. So we're very thankful in that regard. We were able to be productive and stay working, and it was it wasn't a great year, I'll say, but it was better than it could have been.
I think that's about all you could hope for in the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Wells had a bit more of a headache of a year because he actually did move during all of this nonsense.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, there were lots of ups and downs in 2020. And I think on the whole, I have to say, like, it was a positive year, but at what cost?
Yeah.
So I got married. We had to cut back the scale of the wedding a lot, obviously, but that was a real highlight of the year end of my life. And I got to, see Dalton and all that, which was nice. I got to see my family like at the midpoint of everything. So at the very least I had that, but for the rest of it, it was just like, I was just kind of on my own, locked in a cage with a bunch of people that want food because I'm a waiter, and I don't know if we count as essential workers, but we certainly don't count as workers that deserve to not be on the front lines.
Essential workers.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I really like gardening, which was super fun. And now I have a whole garden of herbs and spices in my backyard, which is pretty dope. And all that took was me learning that actually I'm pretty productive in comics when I don't have a job and no other responsibilities outside of that. So it's it was a blessing and a curse, because now I have to go back to working, and I'm like, oh man, I would really just prefer to be working on comics all day.
Nice. Yeah. And fresh spices are great, right? We grow our own too. Yeah, it changes everything in your food.
So much better.
Yeah.
I was really like, was that even worth it? And then sometime in the winter, we made a dish for the first time with the spices that I had dried over the summer, and they were like, oh no, this is a must. We can never go back.
Yeah, I grow my own.
But now I
grow my own rosemary in the backyard. So when this is all said and done with, I'll have to send you a picture of my bush. Yeah.
Oh, dude. So here's something I don't understand about rosemary is in Tennessee, it's the hardest thing in the world to take care of and actually get to a good place. In Arkansas, it just grows in the cracks in the ground.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. In Arkansas, you can't kill it.
I don't get. I would prefer that scenario. Right. I love big rosemary bushes, but no, mine is you have to treat it like an annual down here. Essentially, it sucks.
Oh wow,
that's weird.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I really want to make the stretch goal a picture of Caleb's bush now.
Yeah, right. Not a snapshot of rosemary. I'm proud of Mills for not grabbing that low hanging.
That sounds like
I threw it out there for him.
Yeah. That sounds like the perfect short story to have gone. If they do a Comrade Himbo 2, I am pitching that as a story. Caleb's bush, and it's going to be about your rosemary bush and distributing it to the community. Have you...
See, I went to a horror place with it, Caleb's rosemary bush, that came alive and ate San Francisco.
Oh, San Fran. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty good too.
And that's a steal from the chicken hearth that ate San Francisco, which is a dude we're not supposed to talk about anymore. Comedy special back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what about you guys? How did 2020 treat the SFG gang?
Yeah, it was a year.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I mean, as you put it, Dalton, I survived it, and it was not as bad as it was for some people, and not as good as previous years had been. Mm-hmm. And that's about the best you could ask for coming out of that year, especially when you're a freelance of any sort.
Oh, yes.
The first people they're going to cut or to use less of are freelance people. So, but I survived it. Things are picking back up and, going good now. So it's just one of those things you just, you get through and you hope to do better the next year.
For me, it was interesting because I realized, number one, how just much of a skill that multitasking is that I got really good at home. Because, I could be doing like 4 things at once at home. But also for me, it was the speed bumps for me were challenging because not only, I started a new job in the middle of my first actual legal job in the middle of the pandemic, went through a legislative session, having to go up and back and forth to the Capitol and argue with lawmakers, started a 501c4. And so there were lots of these firsts that I got really good at multitasking and compartmentalizing things in my office at home. So that was kind of the key for me. It's like, let me figure out how to do all these things. And then you also realize how much relaxing time that there is in commuting that you don't get anymore. Because it was like the driving back and forth to school now no longer was a thing. So It was like read and study up to the minute that class starts, start class, minute class ends, do something different. So I really like the quiet time of riding in my car now that I didn't have before. But I don't think I appreciated it before, and I think that was for me was the key part. But
Caleb's the one person that wants to start commuting again after COVID.
I don't want to start commuting.
On board with that. I was just agreeing with Caleb on commuting because I've been working from home for a year, and I just got a new job where I actually get to commute to an office, and I can't tell you how excited I am to commute to an office.
You guys are weird.
Yeah, no, I gotta disagree. I gotta say, I would kill to be able to work from home, but then also have the choice to go out to a coffee shop if I want to focus and get something done that I can't get done in the house.
There you go.
I would much rather have that option than be forced to go into an office or, in my case, a restaurant.
I think even if I get to a point where I'm actually working from home constantly, I will still want to have an office to go to because I cannot stand these 4 walls around me 24/7. I need something besides home to go to do work, even if it is comics.
I was going to say that the key to it is having an office for working at home, and then getting out of the office when you're done working and going into the other room. Mm-hmm. Staying in that same office, it feels like you're working all the time. But if you get up and leave that office and go to the living room, even if you're taking phone calls or whatever, it does change that perception in your brain.
Well, I can't wait to get a house, and then I'll be able to do it.
When you live in an apartment that has at best 3 rooms. Yeah. Which luckily I have a house, so I'm on the other side of it, and I'm like, this is nice. I have my own office, and I can just hang out in here whenever I need to, get work done, and then go downstairs, play PS4, play Resident Evil.
Well, speaking of getting work done, let's talk about Mechaton, because that's why we're all here. I mean, really. I mean, other than that, we love each other and we miss each other. But
I'll talk
yeah,
about
we
your
would've
bush all
found a
day,
way.
Caleb. I don't need to talk about Mechaton.
it's like, oh, we're not gonna let's just talk about the health benefits of a quiet commute instead of comedy. But no, I want
For the
to like
deep stuff that people tune into us for.
exactly that real slice of life quality that. So you guys have a new book that is together. It's going. You've launched it on Kickstarter. I think right now it's got 20 more days to go. Actually, it looks like right now you've got almost $2,000 pledged, which is awesome. And
All right.
20 days to go.
About a third.
Yeah, you're on track, man. But tell me about this new book. Obviously, it looks like I've read the synopsis, but I'd rather hear it from you guys. We got giant monsters, we've got friendship, we got just a little slice of awesome. So.
First of all, what would a Dalton and Wells book be without giant monsters in it? So,
and friendship. No, that's the important thing. Giant monsters and friendship.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this book.
Oh God.
Okay. So Mechaton, Mechaton has been a story that I've been sitting on for like a decade now, something like that. It was something me and my friend Logan had been working on together for a long time, but it just never got off the ground. And Logan eventually didn't do comics, and he's been doing great in other places. But I just had this pitch for Mechaton of a guy who punches things and makes giant robots. And
nice.
So for the decade, I've just been kind of fiddling with it here and there. And then after Descent into Dread finally took off, we were like, what's our next project? It can't be something dark and serious because we don't want to be typecast, right? And I was like, well, hey, I've got this Mechaton pitch, and Wells is like, we can work with that. And now not only do you get punching into giant robots, but now you have punching with giant robots and friendship.
I feel like it's not necessarily where our best ideas come from, but like the most creative stuff that we've made has come from Dalton or me being like, I have this thing that I really don't know what to do with, and the other one going, I have a deep intuitive understanding of what to do with this. Let's go. That's how we got started on our first project, Depths, which is not out, obviously, and probably won't be for a good long while, but something that we've been working on for years that we're really excited about. And it's how we got started on Mechaton. Actually, I think I in fairness, I resisted Mechaton a bit because I was just like, this doesn't seem like me. And then the more we talked about it, the more we got into it, I was like, actually, I kind of know these characters. I think I can work with this. And it turned into something I think that's really special and beautiful. As you said, it's about it's about a pair of siblings that are kind of in that weird transitional period in their lives where they have in their heart like, oh, we want to do good in the world, but they have like no direction or any idea how to get there. Just kind of working into our meaningless jobs and doing as best they can with what they have. And then a alien space glove falls out of the sky and attaches to one of their hands, and suddenly they have the power to punch things and turn it into a mech. Whether it's like in this first issue, it's a hot dog cart that they punch just by mistake, and it turns into a battle mech with like a ketchup cannon and an umbrella shield and junk. And that will eventually
amazing.
Yeah. That will eventually escalate into like there's some really dope ideas we have for it. I know I think the most recent one we came up with was it was punching a police car and making it a mech called All Cars Are Beautiful, which I'm excited to premiere.
I just want to see the chimney cannon when he punches the house.
Yeah, there's a house that has a chimney cannon. That one's gonna look dope. And we somehow after searching for what felt like eternity for the right creative team to put it together, we somehow found this guy, Fernando Pinto, who's a Chilean artist. He's a university professor that teaches art. And he has this comic Gun Punch that has this weird kind of body horror element where the weapons and people's bodies get fused in interesting ways. And the look of it immediately told me, yeah, he knows how to make these weird looking mechs out of garbage and everyday objects. And I was like, and it worked out beautifully. I cannot wait to see his designs for some of the mechs we have in mind.
So you touched on it briefly about your creative process, and I've been wondering, maybe tell us a little bit how it's either matured or whatever since the last book, Descent into Darkness.
Descent to Dread?
Yeah, Descent into Dread, I'm sorry.
Yeah. For one thing, it's a single idea that we're doing, whereas Descent into Dread was kind of a scattershot approach. Like, obviously we had the theme of this is horror, and we wanted to, and we had a loose theme around the stories that we kind of ad hoc we added after the fact. But this one was like a fully formed idea with a direction and places to go, and an ongoing narrative that we knew that we have a pretty good idea of where we want to take it. Even now. So from that angle, it's matured a lot. I think we've gotten stronger as writers since then, just from doing it a lot more often. Mm-hmm. Personally, I can see a lot of growth in both of our styles, in Dalton's, writing and my writing. And I don't know, this one feels a little bit more nuanced to me. Not to say that like everything in Descent into Dread was really one note, but when you have 8 pages, it's kind of hard to really get into all the nuance that you want and explore all the ideas in a way that is really satisfying for everyone involved. So having, this first issue is 28 pages, and I feel like we really get to live with these characters for a little while, and I'm super excited about that, if nothing else.
But, well, there's a lot to unpack with these too, right? Like, so I've been, as you've been talking, I was browsing through some of the pages that you can see on the Kickstarter platform. So when folks go there, they can actually see what some of Fernando's artworks look like, and they can check out Mayday Trips, excellent colors. Which, by the way, I got to say, I know Mayday just through the comics community. I love that you're working with them. They are fantastic. Such a great person, and I've gotten to know them a little bit, really through comic book.
It is dope.
Yeah, they are just like a shining beacon sometimes, and it's great that my two worlds came together with that. So excellent job on getting Mayday on colors, but there's a lot to unpack with these characters, right? Like just in what you said, you've got like this. You not only have like the Hansel and Gretel aspect, relating things back to, just kind of the metaphors, but you've got the Midas touch to unpack in there. You've got robots versus monsters, but you also have you've got room to grow with these characters, I think, which is just a really cool concept. And yeah, that's not something that you get to do when you don't get to spend a lot of time with them. The book, as I've read it, kind of, obviously, there's no way you're making a one-to-one, or that I'm trying to make a one-to-one connection there, but there's a little bit of kind of Greg Pak's Mech Cadet U, I think, thrown in there a little bit too. So folks who enjoyed that, they should really like this book, and I enjoy that too, because like the book that you guys have created, it's not a book that takes itself super seriously, because like you've got ketchup and mustard guns. But it's a book that has serious components in there that you've put on the ground level that I think anybody of any ages can enjoy and find something that resonates there with it.
Yeah. With Mechaton especially, I think Mechaton is emblematic of kind of my preferred writing style, in that it's ridiculous concepts with grounded heart with its characters. So yeah, I want to see a different robot every single issue punching a different kind of monster and or giant robot, because that's just cool. But I also want like every issue to have Derek and Leah, our two protagonists, like actually have like conversations and talk to each other. And it's not just like jokes all the time. It's actually something with heart while also being something so ridiculous you can't help but smile.
So when they turn something into a mecha, do they have a bond like like from Pacific Rim type thing, where they kind of bond mentally and control it together, or how does that work?
Not in that sense.
Kind of the opposite. They're disjointed and have to work together to try and make it work as smoothly as possible.
Yeah.
Like,
what's funny is that they have, I mean, because with the video games, Derek plays video games and Leah likes to just watch because she doesn't like playing. But Derek's incompetent. He's stupid, but his sister is slightly less stupid. So she actually has she hooked her phone up to the glove to try and figure out what the glove was, and in that there is a connection between the glove and the operating system on her phone. So whenever Derek punches a robot, she gets like a heads up display from the robot and she can help him fight, because otherwise she's just going to be punching things and hoping they fall down, and she can actually help him form a strategy while he's fighting.
Yeah.
So it's not quite a bond on a mental level, but they do have to work together like siblings.
Yeah, I really wanted to explore that, like that backseat gamer relationship, because I feel like it's an interesting one that doesn't really ever get explored. And as both a little brother who grew up being like, I can't play Ocarina of Time, so I want to watch you play it. Turner, my older brother, and him being a jerk about it, to now when I'm an adult and my wife, who's also a little sibling, is like, just play the game and let me watch. I like doing this. And and that kind of weird dynamic we've developed that way. I felt like it slotted really seamlessly into this kind of idea that we have with the mechs.
So please tell me
I'm
there's
really
like,
that.
well, sorry, I just came in like a wrecking ball there.
Go for it. No.
Please tell me that there's one issue where she gives him a fake controller to play with.
Well,
it's not really plugged in.
Oh god, that's an idea to work with.
Well, now it's gonna happen.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna make it work, but that's how we go into, I think, all of these issues. Is I don't know how we're gonna make it work, but we're gonna make it work.
Yeah, essentially every issue starts with, I want to see this kind of robot. He punches this and makes this robot, and let's build a story around it.
I mean, that's all you really need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I think Caleb alluded to earlier, there are heartfelt moments and there's a lot of ridiculousness, and walking that tightrope is like a lot of the fun and also a lot of the frustration of writing each issue is, how do we balance this in such a way that the heartfelt moments don't feel cheesy or drowned out by the ridiculous moments, and the ridiculous moments don't seem out of character.
Well, that's the peaks and valleys of writing. I mean, that's with anything. You want to have something where you have this culmination, this blood pumping event, but you have to have the quiet moments to make those moments really pop, to make the big moments really pop off the page.
Yeah.
And oftentimes,
absolutely,
I think if people look at it, what they'll find is the quiet moments where the story really unfolds itself. And that's even, like, I don't think you have to be talking about, classic literature for that to happen. I think that's the big point of comic books. I think Daniel Warren Johnson does that really well.
Yes.
He shows you, I always say it when we talk about him, I've got one of my favorite collections in my art collection is a Daniel Warren Johnson page from Murder Falcon, but it's not anything that's, it's not Murder Falcon. It's a quiet moment where the main character is being left by his partner. It's this really, really sad moment. And that's my favorite page in the whole book. And I'm lucky enough to own it, but I think you see those moments in here. And tying this back into what Craig was talking about, I actually like it better that there's not any kind of mental connection, because that takes away kind of the crutch that a lot of pop culture uses to describe teamwork, and to describe these connections that partners have to use in really high energy moments. I mean, anybody who's worked in an office space, or anybody who's had to do like a group project, they know you can't read what your other half is really talking about. And I find this interesting too for the two of you, as you are co-writers in this. I think I'm curious, is this almost an exploration of how you guys work together, how you guys write together, like, because you can't be inside each other's brains, having to understand, and because every partnership has great times where things are really flowing well, but it also has the times where you hit the gravel, right? I mean, it's got to. So is this almost an exploration of working through those moments too?
I mean, generally speaking, yeah, I'm the idiot in the robot, and Wells is the one telling me to get out of the robot.
Yeah, I
was gonna say that sounds really.
I was gonna say, knowing you two the way I know you, I pictured Dalton as the balloon floating in the air, and Wells is like the anchor trying to pull him back down to earth.
Yeah, and that's generally how that's how we work well together. Because I mean, as much as I want the book to be about giant robots punching giant things, the book's really about Derek and Leah, and we need to. It helps to have somebody to focus that again, and as long as we have the cool moments and the character moments, then our writing styles both shine really well together, and it makes it seem almost seamless, especially now that we're back in more of a modern setting, because I know Descent into Dread had a lot of fantastical elements, and I know it was a struggle for me that I didn't get to do a whole lot of cool banter with the characters, and now that we're back in a more modern setting, it feels better working on something like this than it did Dread, where Dread was more of an exercise. This feels more like a project,
Well,
for sure.
Yeah, as well said, having 22 pages or 28 pages certainly, I'm sure, makes the difference as far as being able to expand on that.
Oh God,
it can breathe. It's great.
The breathing room is so nice. I just to expand on that. No, it's weird because there's definitely a lot of tension when it comes to the writing room when we're bringing our ideas together. A lot of times, the last thing you want to hear is, no, we can't do that, or this needs to be adjusted because you've put so much time and energy into it. And in the moment, sometimes I'll walk away and I'm like, God, is this even, worth it? Why can't I just do what I want? And then I think about it for 2 seconds. And I'm like, no, it's better this way. It actually works a lot better. And I'm being dumb.
Self-editing is the hardest part of anything.
Yeah. Self-editing it's like trying to draw through a telescope. Right. Like you it's so much harder to see everything that you need to see. You need that outside voice to be like, hey, actually, when you think about it, this doesn't work at all.
So I never have to self-edit because Wells edits for me. It's great.
See, I just rely on Craig to tell me when to shut up, and usually that's what I know. I've taken a step back. Craig back into reality.
Yeah, Caleb, we're the idiots and the robots. It's fine.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, if I ever get free time, can we start our own thing called Idiots and Robots?
Yes.
Idiots and a Robot? Hell yeah.
Sounds like an amazing title.
It sounds like a new podcast for the four of us.
Hell yeah.
So you talked about Descent into Dread a little bit, and this is something that nobody but me probably cares about, but I do, so I'm going to ask anyway. I'm always curious about process and the differences in process. So with Descent into Dread, you guys went with an established publisher that you worked with, you signed contracts with and looked at. What's been the big difference? Tell me about the differences between going that route to produce something and the Kickstarter route. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is your first Kickstarter, or am I wrong about that?
Yes.
No, that's completely true. This is our first Kickstarter.
Okay, yeah. So brand new thing. What's been some of the speed bumps, the roadblocks? How has it been smoother in some ways? Like what's the difference?
The difference is no publisher wanted this, so this is a lot more stressful.
That's not true. No, I mean, the reason that we went self-published, the reason that we went Kickstarter was a combination of things. The first, which is what he alluded to, was that we were just in the dark times, and like everything, the comics industry was super affected by it. So we put our heads down and went to work and came up with a couple of cool comics pitches that had some dope art behind it and some really good talent. And we looked up to realize that there were all of like 3 publishers currently accepting open submissions.
Wow.
And if you've ever worked in the world of publishing or writing or anything creative, you know that if you are submitting to, 1 publisher or 2 publishers or 3 publishers, the odds of getting an acceptance back are virtually 0.
Right.
Has nothing to do with, obviously it has to do with the quality of your work, but it has equal parts amount to do with what style they're looking for and what fits into their catalog and luck. And there's a million different things. So, we went ahead and sent those pitch packets anyway, but we knew that we're not getting anything back from them. So, so we needed to take things into our own hands, number 1. And then number 2, we just saw this massive influx in really, really quality work coming out of Kickstarter that I don't think I've seen any time before.
Right.
Projects like Slightly Exaggerated by Curtis Clow, or Commander Rao by Fellhounds, or a bunch of anthologies. There's so much cool stuff coming out of Kickstarter. It didn't feel like this is a last resort so much as this is a legitimate path to get something created and get something noticed. And more importantly, built into it is in much the same way, I guess, that you would say going traditional. It's like going Kickstarter. By definition, if you succeed there, you have readership. People are
Right.
invested in it. So,
I don't think you can look at it as non-traditional anymore. So many people are doing it.
Yeah, no, it's part of the landscape now. It's self-published still, but it is very much part of the landscape.
Well, there's been this interesting phenomenon that's happened with that too, because now you have established publishers that are even doing the Kickstarter route. One of the biggest books of this year has been Berserk, which is the Matt Kent, Keanu Reeves thing. I think it's Boom Studio that's doing that, which raked in millions and millions of dollars because Keanu Reeves. But there's a lot of things that are hitting Kickstarter now that it's going to be in previews in a few months. And I think that's really, to what Wells is talking about, the legitimization of comics on that platform. Not that I think that there needed to be any kind of mainstream legitimization. I think it was always legitimate, but I think that's brought more attention to it. And that's brought more things, like you said, hey, this very well could be, on the shelf in your local comic shop. It's not to where at one point, I think when Kickstarter very first started, I think there was this kind of notion of, it's on Kickstarter because of quality issues, but that's
because you couldn't get it done anywhere else.
Right. I don't think anybody looks at that as the case anymore for the exact reasons that you're talking about.
We're finally.
I'm
sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead, guys.
No, I was saying we finally kind of reached the promise of what the Image guys set out to do, which was democratize comics, and Kickstarter has finally we're here in a sense. Everyone can launch it. Everyone can do their own comics. You just have to put the elbow grease in, and anything essentially is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to I guess expand upon that. So that's why we chose Kickstarter. What's better about it? It feels a lot more personal in a lot of ways, and it's I don't want to say we didn't have creative freedom with Descent into Dread, because we certainly did, but it does feel like inherently more ours and more we get the final say on everything. down to the quality of paper that we're using to print it. And then the things that are harder, things that are worse, is that everything I just said is also is true in the other regards. Like it's ours, and it lives and fails on us, and we have to learn suddenly we have to know a lot about marketing and a lot about production and things that we haven't necessarily had to concern ourselves with, which some of that we learned a little bit along the way from doing like our 8-pagers at local cons and stuff like that. There was definitely like less of a learning curve in that regard. And I do want to point out that the Kickstarter community is super welcoming. Like I asked 5 or 6 really successful Kickstarter creators, and every single one of them was like, yeah, here's what you do. Here are things you need to know about. Here are things you probably didn't think about, but definitely need to know about. So there is a support system in that regard. Nice. If you know where to look. But the major downside is that I have been having a panic attack for 3 weeks in a row, and I'm not going to stop having that panic attack for another 3 weeks.
If I'm
Sounds
not,
like you need a medical card.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, Kickstarter also has, like, on their platform, they kind of have some instructive materials that I think creators can look at and use.
Yeah, absolutely, they do.
And then talking about the community, somebody that I follow on Twitter, would love to get to know them better, but you've got people like Iron Spike, who she's a best-selling comic artist. She does the Iron Circus comics and stuff like that really revolutionized Kickstarter. And like that Twitter feed is just full of, hey, here's how you fucking do it. It's nobody's trying to hide the ball, and I think that's really helpful for people who are young in the game. I won't say new in the game, because you guys are already published, been doing this for a long time, but you're young in the game and trying this new platform. Can I and this may be too personal of a question, it may be something you guys don't want to get into, but can I ask why Kickstarter specifically? Like, did you guys make that choice? I mean, there's other platforms like Indiegogo that I know some people use that have kind of gotten a bad rap a little bit, but
Kickstarter Kickstarter is more reputable, and if you go on Indiegogo, people automatically have questions like, "Hey, is this a Comicsgate thing?" Because no, and perfectly reasonable, frankly. Kickstarter is just by far the biggest and by far the most reputable crowdfunding source, and putting distance between us and Comicsgate is always a plus. The thing about it that makes it reputable is also the thing about it that sucks the most, which is that it is an all or nothing system. Which makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, I'm like, it is a little nerve-wracking, where it's like, well, we could just get none of this and be at square, at square one again. But that's on us to make the campaign as good as we can and try and attract people in whatever way we can.
Kickstarter is just where all the cool kids are.
Well, as a backer, and I back quite a bit on Kickstarter, I prefer it for that very reason, though. I'm not out the money if it doesn't get funded, and I never see my product. So I can totally see how that would be a major stress as a creator, though. That, hey, if we don't make it, we don't make it. We're just screwed and have to either re-campaign at a lesser amount or something of that nature.
For sure. It's I totally side with Kickstarter on this issue, like from an objective viewpoint, but also like from a deeply personal viewpoint, I'm like, just I can deal with an extra $1,000. I don't care. Like, please just give me the money so we can do this project.
Right.
I just need a little
get us
help.
to the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally understand why they do it, though. And it makes a lot of sense. It's just deeply stressful. in many ways.
Yeah.
So I have a question going in a different direction that I'm sure will interest Caleb's legal viewpoint. You said, Dalton, that you started this idea with your buddy Logan. Are you giving him writing credits in this, or?
So we sat down with Logan and talked to him about it.
Yeah, we negotiated this.
Yeah, because I mean, Logan and I he's my best friend in the world, and we were always going to do comics together. And Mechaton was one of those ideas. But I sat down with him and was like, look, you're kind of doing comics anymore. This is a fantastic idea that you had a big hand in creating, and we want to make sure that we have your blessing to go forward with it. So he said yes, he's good with it. We didn't need to give him a writing credit, but he is in the first issue. He is a character in the book.
That was the trade-off.
He was literally he was literally, put me in the book and we're good. I don't care. And I was like, great, fantastic.
Nice.
But it's always like in my head, even though it says Dalton, Shannon, and Wells Thompson, Logan's name is there in my head. Like it would not be here without him. And so I owe him immensely for it. But thankfully he's such a good guy that he's like, just put me in the book. We're good.
Well, I didn't want to see anything, like the Eastman Laird problems or anything like that somewhere down the road.
Hey, I would love to have Eastman Laird problems. Give me the action.
Right?
Well, from the legal standpoint, and again, nobody will find this interesting but me. There's a concept, because what initially you're talking about is copyright, right? Like who owns the copyright? Ideas are considered what's called free as the air. You can't copyright an idea. It has to be reduced to a tangible medium in some sense. So like if you and I are talking about a song, and we come up with lyrics to a song together that we're just saying back and forth, that's not copyrightable. You can't do that. Now, when we write it down on a piece of paper, all of a sudden a copyright is created. So from a legal perspective, that's where that exists. The legalese side of it, that again,
it's hard to prove a conversation without anything written down anyways.
We were never really worried about it. Logan's a great guy, and the book's dedicated to him in more ways than one. So it's pretty much clear sailing from here to Saturn with the robots.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
Logan, by the way, is one of our biggest backers. Not to call anyone out specifically or anything, but like he did not hesitate to be like, yeah, take my money. I want to see this. Hit shelves and be in physical form. I want to hold it in my grubby little hands.
Nice.
You'll know him as the owner of Waifus Only in the book.
Is he? I actually don't know if he's the owner or just a very enthusiastic patron, but he's very concerned about the store.
I'm literally looking at that page right now. It's in the background.
Nice.
So let's go back to the Kickstarter though. So tell me about some of the things that you get by backing this book. You guys have stretch goals set out.
We don't have any stretch goals laid out because at this stage we're just 100% of our energy is going into get it funded, and as soon as if we hit $6,001, we will start talking about stretch goals. Currently, what you get by backing the book is at any tier that you choose. So starting at $6, you get a digital copy of the book. From there, you can get a physical copy, a signed cover if you want, a metallic cover if you want. One of the tiers is my family's coveted lentil soup recipe, which I put on half as a joke and half as like, look, you want me to like prove I'm being sincere and that I'm putting myself out there. Here you go. This is the good. This is what I have to offer. And to be fair, it's a damn good recipe. And more people than I expected sprung for that tier, and beyond. So that's been really fun. And then there is a tier if you want it. If you just want a bunch of copies and not anything specific, you don't want them signed or anything. You can get just 7 of them if you want. And then we have a bunch of add-ons. If you want like some other cool things, we have a couple of stickers that we've created in the shape of the mech and the kaiju.
Yeah, I signed on.
So you can get both of them and make them fight. You can get a copy of the script if you want, and we will probably annotate that and have notes in the margins and kind of talk about what decisions we made. Like it's going to be a little bit more than just the script, but that's an option if you want to add on to your order.
Like why a ketchup cannon versus a mustard cannon?
Well, because it's the alliteration.
It is the alliteration, yeah. There's an add-on that lets you put your we will put your name actually on the book. We're going to thank all of the Kickstarter backers on a page in the book, but like have your name on it because we only have so much space. There's an add-on for that, and you can also get a couple of prints that are like 11 by 17 prints that are made by some really, really, really talented artists. Serge Acuna did one that looks like it's straight up out of like a really, really dope fucking mech anime. I would pay to see that show so much. I really dig his interpretation of the hot dog robot and the kaiju. And then we have another one by Beck Kubrick that is very like Adventure Time style, very like what if we could all just get along kind of thing. And there's a little baby version of the monster playing video games. I love that one so much. Either or both are available to you if you get at least the physical copy of the book. You can add that onto your order. So there's a bunch that we've added on, and we probably could have done more, but logistically it was just getting to be a bit of a headache. We really wanted to just provide as much incentive as we could for people to get whatever they wanted and get as much of it out of this Kickstarter as they wanted to provide.
I tried desperately to get the comic to transform into a robot, but we just couldn't make it work.
Oh my god! But
you have to punch it.
I was gonna say we need to hire an origami expert to like make one of the instructions out of one of the pages so you can turn it into a robot. That would be dope. Oh my god!
See what you got to do, and Dalton will appreciate this. You've got to channel ForceWorks #1 and have the cover be a pop-up.
Oh my god! Yes. Yes.
I just
are we gonna do a deep pull and talk ForceWorks? Because we'll talk ForceWorks for 6 hours.
Oh my god, you and me, bro. You and me. Like we can do that anytime. I just want to say because Wells mentioned it, like the print by Serge Acuna is ridiculous. It's dumb.
So good.
Oh god.
So good.
I don't collect mech OA. Like that's not my cup of tea, but I'm drooling over it. I want this piece of original art. And I hope somebody owns it somewhere because it's just it's so ridiculously cool looking.
I mean, we own it technically.
Yeah, right.
We pay good money for it
if you choose it as an add-on.
And you can too.
It's so good.
After working with him on Descent into Dread, it was a no-brainer. We're like, you want to interpret Mechaton? Go for it.
Right.
Frankly, we asked him to draw the whole comic at one point, but he was just busy. So we were like, "Can you do a poster?" And he was like, "Sure." And he gave that to us, and we were like, "Oh, in another world, this would have been a really fun comic to draw with you." And I love the direction that we went with it. It's a lot more like animated and cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
But that level of hyper detail was, I think, the original like. I know it's what Dalton had in his head originally for what the series was going to look like.
Yeah, but Fernando's bringing something completely different, and it's stretchy and it's animated, and it, I think, fits the tone better than I think Serge would at the end of the day.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I still want Serge for depth more than anything.
I think it's true, especially with what you said about the animated feel to it. It almost has there's a little bit of like a Tony Fleece style in here too that I dig. Just the whole thing is like I'm saying this as a comics lover and as a friend. The panels and the pictures you guys have up online are insane. Like, they're outstanding. You guys did something really cool with this. I can't wait to get it in my hands. I need everybody out there to go throw money at it so I get it, because I really want it, not only for the comic, but I also am on the tier where I get the lentil soup recipe. Really, really
Hell yeah.
If like look, at the end of the day, I'm gonna come find you if I don't get it anyway. So, we can live stream you teaching me how to make it someday. That'll be fun.
Sure thing.
Yeah,
and, yeah. I just updated mine to get the lentil soup. So
hell yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, and we need throw all the money at it, because this is number 1, and we've got like 14 more of these puppies to tell the story. So let's do we got to get the whole thing funded. Let's go.
Yeah,
I can't wait to one day finish Mechaton.
Yes,
that sounds cynical, but like, if we ever actually, like, yeah, Mechaton number 15 or number 18 or however long it takes us to finish the thing seems so far away, and I would love to see it like actually finished.
You have to see the final mech. You have to see it.
So yeah. If we don't get to draw the final mech, then this was all for nothing.
Is the plan to kickstart each additional issue then?
I mean,
I think we're planning
there's a rough
issues, right?
There's a rough plan. I think if this is, depending on, if this is successful and how successful it is, we'll either do a Kickstarter for number 2, or we'll do a Kickstarter for number 2 and number 3 together. But we'll start kind of pairing them up and lumping them together so that we can get more and more out at a time.
Yeah. And it helps because some issues have more action than others, so it would help to pair an issue that's more talky talk with an issue that's more punchy punch. That way you don't feel like you're getting shafted by just getting a bunch of talky talk.
Yeah. And, the way Kickstarter works, I'm not saying that this is the only reason we're doing Kickstarter or anything, but like, there's a real chance that if it's successful, a publisher might really want it. Right. And pick it up from there, and then we don't, necessarily have to Kickstart it anymore. And that would be certainly an avenue to go down if it's presented to us.
I want it for you real bad, guys.
I do as well, and we'll do whatever we can from our standpoint to help promote that.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yes.
It is. Every day I am on Twitter going, how can I shake my ass in like a specific way that gets more people's eyes on it?
Drop a link in our Southern Fried Geekery pages for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and I'll put a link in the show notes of this as well, because I mean, at the end of the day, we want this to be successful. I want it to be successful not only for you guys, but like I said, I have a friendship with Mayday, and I'd love to see Mayday on more things, and I love to see Mayday on this thing for 15 issues. So
Mayday's great. Mayday has the most manic ACAB energy I've ever seen out of any human being.
He really
fantastic.
It's yeah. Can't say anything good about Mayday.
I really want to meet him at Dragon Con this year, if it's possible. If Dragon Con happens, and if they are around to do it, I want to hang out with them so badly.
Yeah, it's
which is a blanket.
Never met him in person.
That's the blanket. Oh, really? Well, I know they live in Atlanta, or they live somewhere in Georgia. Mm-hmm. So they will probably be around for Dragon Con. Not trying to make their plans for them, but if they're there, I would. God, that would be a fun meetup.
We gotta put that on the list. So, as always, I'm curious, and since we've been talking about the comic that you made for so long, you guys reading anything while you're in and out of doing this? What comics? Because a lot of comics creators, when we talk to them, they're like, "Dude, I'm making these things. I don't have time to read them." Are you guys still getting to read any stuff?
Wells, you take it.
Yeah, yes and no. My first unpaid gig is being a comics writer. My second unpaid gig is being a comics critic. And I actually got promoted over promoted. I don't get paid, but I got more access, I suppose, over quarantine to content editor for Comic Book Yeti. So represent. Which means that in a way, I see the reviews of like every indie thing that comes out. So I have like a taste of everything, but I do not get to read a ton as a result of it. And what's funny is that the last time I was on the show, I recommended Money Shot and what was it? Money Shot and Coffin Bound. Coffin Bound is a book by Dan Waters. And the two things that immediately came to mind is, well, I just got done with my review of Volume 2 of Money Shot, and I have been reading Homesick Pilots, which is a series by Dan Waters. So basically the same thing.
Coffin Bound
I
is
won't
amazing.
go so far as to what Homesick Pilots is great. Oh my god, I'm so in love with that series. And I'm like most everything Dan Waters does, I'm super impressed with. I'm probably the thing I am least impressed with of his so far is the Portrait of Everything Else, and that is still super impressive. Like I am still enamored with it. I just have probably the most criticism about it. But other than that, let's see. Commander Rao, you should definitely read that if you haven't. It is super experimental and cool and like just balls to the wall action in a way that is fun and refreshing and like more creative than anything I've seen out of a Big Two comic in years. That is right now, I think, an online exclusive. You can only get it on Gumroad, but I know that Fell is looking to bring back physical copies soon. She just sold out.
Yeah.
And I have a story in an anthology that I would recommend, but it is not out yet. So I will let you guys know when that hits Kickstarter.
Nice, yeah. Make that
Nice.
Yeah, which is the first time I've ever been paid to do comics, and I gotta tell you, it's a weird feeling.
All right, Dalton, you kind of shirked the question there. So have you not been able to get to read very much?
No, I've been reading, but my comic shop is 3 hours away, so I don't get down to read recent comics a ton. So I've been diving into my backlog that is at least a mile high of books. So I've been reading stuff like I finally read Jupiter's Legacy and was not impressed, and I finally read Jesus Freak and thought that was fun. I was been reading some Crazy Cat by George Harriman for that newspaper strip from the early 1900s. That's a trip. So yeah, it's a lot of catching up, mostly in between making comics and the stream that we do and all in working an actual job. It's like, oh, there's also comics to read. Okay.
Yeah. There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah. And then there's also video games, and I'm like, how do I do video games anymore?
I don't have that problem. I rarely play video games and I don't watch TV, so I just do all the things and then sit down and read and drink alcoholic beverages. But so Dalton, you mentioned comic strips. I always forget that you and I kind of share this love of like old comic strip collections. I just read a graphic novel on OGN. It's called Fictional Father. Now it's not a comic strip, but the story itself is about a guy whose dad was this famous, world-renowned, beloved comic strip artist who had this, Dennis the Menace-esque style comic strip about a dad and a son that was, highly syndicated, and the entire story is about like living under his dad's shadow with that. So you should check that out if you get a chance.
What was it called? That sounds really good.
It's called Fictional Father by Joe Olsman.
Oh, okay.
So
okay, I'm definitely checking that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, you're like me in the fact that you like the history of comics, in the history of strips and stuff like that, and it really gets into a lot of it. And it actually does talk about the lives of of real life comic strip artists. The guy who made Dennis the Menace, several other ones.
Yeah,
So
I'm assuming that you've read the big that big hardcover book, The Comics, by what's his name? Jerry Robinson did a huge hardcover about the history of the comic strip, the American comic strip. And it goes decade by decade talking about the strips of the time. It's phenomenal, and it introduced me to strips I had no idea actually existed.
To my shame, I own it. I have not read it yet. It's on that giant stack of things that's a to-do list.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough as for a history buff. It's so good.
Love it. Well, this is awesome. And guys, I want to say thank you again for actually sitting down to talk about the Kickstarter with us. We're gonna, obviously anybody who listens to the show should do their due diligence and go check it out on Kickstarter and throw some money at it. We'll keep throwing attention to it as much as we can. Like I said, it looks phenomenal. I'm so glad you guys got this project. I'm so glad. I'm proud to back it on Kickstarter, and I hope others will too. I'd love to see it come to fruition. The way Craig and I and Matt, when he's here. So, by the way, sorry Matt couldn't be here today. He's literally on vacation, so he's
it's
doing.
Okay. I only hold a grudge for about a week and a half.
Yeah, Matt.
It'll be simple. By the time that we the way Craig and I have always wrapped up the podcast is to kind of like look forward a little bit, talking about comics that are coming out next week. You guys are more than welcome to jump in at the end of that if you want to. Say, hey, this thing is coming out, or you can let us handle this, and we'll just tell people to go, on Comic Book Day to go throw money at your Kickstarter. So that, like I said, no pressure. You guys feel free to. Craig, why don't you tell the fine folks at home listening to this something that they should go check out that's coming out this next week?
Was that Banner joining the podcast?
That was Annie yawning like a
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to tell people to go pick up Basilisk #1 from Boom Studios. It's by Colin Bunn and Jonas Scharf.
Mm-hmm.
Who can stop the Chimera, 5 individuals bound by a cult like hive mind. They terrorize small towns with their horrifying supernatural sense-based powers. Just another great horror story, I'm sure, coming from Colin Bunn.
And this is actually the second time those guys have worked together. They did that book. I forget the name of it. It was like a mystical drug dealer story set in New Orleans.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it right now either.
So good.
It was good though. Yeah.
Well, I love Colin Bunn. That dude just keeps getting gold stars. So I'm actually going to tell people to pick up the caboose of what's been a great series this next week. From the House of Ideas, Marvel, the 6th issue, and I guess you'd say the ultimate issue of Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragon is coming out. I have adored this 6-issue series, written by the great Larry Hama, drawn gorgeously by Dave Walker with Billy Tan on the colors. This is wrapping everything up. All the dragons in heaven have fallen, and a new champion's going to rise. You're going to see a new beginning. Great kung fu story, really wonderful tapping into the legend, the mythology of the heavens, of Kunlun, of the dragons, of where this the chi power of Iron Fist comes from. Okoye from Wakanda plays a big role in this, kind of unexpectedly. And look, anytime you get a chance to look at Dave Walker's art is a good chance to take. Like it's gonna be a good day because Dave Walker is a beast. He's a machine. And seeing him draw all these characters, especially my new favorite character, who's Fu, this little goblin gremlin of a person who's wields a musket, is badass. So go check out Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragon, #6 of 6.
Nice.
Fellas, y'all got anything you want to throw out for next week?
Next week, Hollow Heart issue #4 drops.
Yeah.
It's a Vault. It's a comic from Vault, which is pretty well solidified its reputation as, like, if not the best, then definitely the most creative indie publisher putting things out right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Paul Allor and Paul Tucker, the Pauls, which I don't think anyone calls them, but I refuse to refer to them any other way. The comic is this weird combination of like Beauty and the Beast and Frankenstein. It's about this like only partially human cyborg being imprisoned in this like horrifying bulbous robot body and experimented on in the lab, and the relationship between it and the technician that is like working on him and eventually chooses to try and help him escape, and they develop a really interesting bond, and frankly like extremely nuanced queer romance between the two that seems like on the surface it shouldn't work at all, but like is super touching and works in a lot of ways that you don't expect. In sort of the same vein that like what was that movie, the Guillermo del Toro movie that came out most recently, Shape of Water, like sort of in the same vein as Shape of Water, asking, well, what if you fucked the monster instead? And wound up being like, you know, super touching and nuanced and really you know, made you feel a lot of empathy for the creature in question. Hollow Heart does the same thing, but in a more outwardly sci-fi way. It's really cool. You should check it out.
What If I Fuck the Monster is every theme of every D&D game I've ever played with Craig.
So you could fit right in. It'll be great.
But what he's not telling you is I always play the monster.
Right.
Oh.
It's like that. It's like Shrek, where the donkey finds his true love. Also, nuanced and queer is like my jam. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Dalton, you got anything for next week, or you just want folks to go throw money at your Kickstarter?
Well, go throw money at the Kickstarter. Go throw money on our stream later today, and go throw money at our daily strip, Art is Dead. That'd be great. But if we're talking about actual comic books that matter, let's see. Stuff coming out next week. Let's see. X-Force has just kind of been okay. I talked about Far Sector last time, and I have no idea if I'm going to like this new Green Lantern direction. So I'm going to say the new issue of Justice League. Bendis and Marquez are on that book right now. I've only read, was issue 59 was their first issue of that. And
if you say so.
Honestly, I just really like seeing Bendis write Superman. So since Superman is a part of the team, I'm probably going to still enjoy it. I wasn't blown away with that first issue, but I'm curious to see where it's going. Bendis does not have a great track record with teams, because I was not a huge fan of his Avengers run.
Yeah.
But I'm honestly more excited to see where Justice League is going than I am Green Lantern, because those future state issues of Green Lantern did not endear me to where that book is going yet. So we'll see. There wasn't a whole lot coming out next week that I'm super hyped for, but Justice League has potential. We'll see. End of the day, just go back Mechaton, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Caleb, can you cut that section out where Dalton says, I just really like Bendis, and we'll just make that a drop to put on the show every now and then?
Dalton just dropped out of the call, so I guess we're not hearing from him for the rest of the show. But
you gotta have the Superman qualifier, because it's really specific.
I haven't read it, but folks who have really loved the Superman, so I'm not going to knock it because I haven't read it. I will say that I read the last 2 issues of Green Lantern. I actually really enjoyed it, and I'm not a Green Lantern person, so that might be why.
I am cautiously optimistic, because Jeffrey Thorne I've read nothing of outside of the Future State Green Lantern books where he teased what was coming, and his sections of that book I was not super impressed with. But now that we're back in the main timeline continuity stuff, and the fact that we're bringing in Teen Lantern, which fine, I'll drop Bendis again. I loved Teen Lantern in his Young Justice book. So we're getting Teen Lantern and Far Sector's Joe Malign, which are and John Stewart's taking a big center stage in this book. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the potential of that book, but I haven't read it yet, so I'm going to withhold judgment.
Well, if John Stewart's the best Green Lantern, do not at me.
Like the second best, but anyway,
he's the best.
That we'll fight about that later. Listeners to this show, they know a lot about being cautiously optimistic, because that's really the best we can give them on this podcast is cautious optimism. So that's right in their wheelhouse. But once you have read that, you will have to come back and on the show and tell us your thoughts about it, because I'd love to hear it. Folks, if you are listening to this and you have not yet done so, number one, go back Mechaton on Kickstarter. It's the good, as we like to say. You're going to love it. But if you've just enjoyed us talking, a bunch of friends sitting around talking about comic books, sequential art, things that we love, and you want more of it, maybe a podcast once a week isn't enough, or maybe you want to engage in the conversation. You can find all four of us, all four of the folks on this show, over at the Southern Fried Geekery podcast group on Facebook. You just click the little search bar, you type in SFG podcast, it'll pop up. You can come join us. You can tell us what you're reading, tell us what you're liking. I mean, if you want to, you can tell us what you're not liking, but who wants to waste energy talking about stuff that they don't like? Like, there's too much good out there. But hey, we'll talk back to you. If you want to see what we've been reading, you want to see shots of what we're looking at, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG podcast on both of those. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, maybe you missed something, maybe you have a hot take, maybe I don't know if this is in this episode, but maybe you're like Wells and you've never seen Blade and you want to announce it to the universe. You can shoot us an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. Before we get off here, guys, one of you two beautiful men who I dearly love, tell the fine folks where they can find you, they can find your live stream, all that stuff. Drop your ats and whatnot.
Drop it, Wells.
Let's drop the list. Okay. You can find us on Twitter at FourColour Comics. Color is always the U in this world, FourColour Comics. The Twitter at FourColour Fun. You can find us individually on Twitter. Mine is Wells AFP. Dalton's is Dalton. Is it Dalton K. Shannon 3 still?
No, I'm Dalton K. Shannon on all platforms. Not hard to find.
Nice. So if you want to find Dalton, it's Dalton K. Shannon every time. You can check out all of our self-made comics on FourColorMedia.com. And that'll have all of our 8-pagers, all of our that aren't exclusive to Descent into Dread. All of Art is Dead and links to everywhere that you can find our published stuff. You can find the Kickstarter at kickstarter.com, probably /Mechaton, or just go to Kickstarter and search Mechaton. Or alternatively, click the link in the description, because Caleb already said he's going to drop it there.
Thanks.
And we have Instagram that we update semi-regularly, FourColour Comics, and we stream usually every Thursday. We're actually streaming Sunday this week, but that'll probably be too late by the time this comes out. So every Thursday at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, we stream us drawing comics, talking about the indie comic scene, answering questions about the Kickstarter, generally making a fool of ourselves, talking about cool stuff that's going on in comics media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's at twitch.tv/FourColor Comics. Kindly stop by. We would be happy to have you. We're usually streaming for 1.5 to 2 hours at a time. So between 7 and 9 CST.
Nice. I'm gonna have to I'm not a Twitcher. I haven't yet twitched. I may have to learn to twitch.
You're from Arkansas and you've never twitched before?
No, you're thinking of tweaking. That's a
I was gonna say you're thinking of tweaking.
That's not the. I mean, tweaking can lead to twitching. But that's a different story. We're not going to talk about that on the show. All right, well, gentlemen, we really appreciate you spending some time with us today. Folks at home, you know what to do. You've got your marching orders. You know how to find us, where to find us. I should say, or I'd be remiss if I didn't say, we are recording this on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend here in the United States. Kind of a solemn time to remember the folks who went over abroad and never made it back. So if you're gathering around a barbecue grill, you're getting with family, you're doing whatever, just remember the people that aren't home and why they're not home. And I think that regardless of what political spectrum you come from or what views on why they were over there in the first place, remembering the lost life is something worth doing. So have a safe and just have a safe Memorial Day. So, and with that, we're going to tell you what we always do: go forth and love some comics.
Cowabunga, dude.
Oh no.